Hi, since I got 10 subscribers so far, I thought that it would be fun to do a video showing like what goes on through my mind when I am making these little songs that I do in my spare time. So, I start out here by going through, I'm going to start with drums first, which I don't always do, but this time I'm going to see if it helps my workflow. So when I click on the little drums on the side, it plays it in my ear, so I fast forwarding through me checking all the sounds. Then when I touch these little pegs there, that's them falling into place on the timeline. And just with these two principles, you can set up drums based on all of the sounds that the program gives you or that you download. I go and master them a little bit, and you can adjust the sounds ever so slightly and make them a little bit nicer to hear. It's a skill in itself, mastering, and it takes hours, and I'm not very good at it, but I still try to master the drums a little bit to make them more appealing. I really like the echoey, I have no idea what this percussion is called. I hear it in all sorts of songs, but the fracture percussion 14 thingy is the closest I can get to it, but I really want to figure out how to, get it sounding the best, because I really like the echoey sound effect that it gives. So yeah, I'm just blasting through in the recording. I think this is at 5,000 speed. It takes a long time to get a drum roll down. So basic drum roll. Now I switch over to getting a synth. So the synth sounds, I just press the keyboard, and it kind of like a piano keyboard will align each note. And this is just like on an actual synthesizer. You touch all the knobs until you like the way it sounds. And most of creating a song is just that. That's not interesting. So here I'm making a scale. I want it to be in B major. I find that with the drum. But I also want it to be in Mixolydian, which is when you take the, is it the six chord, and you bump it down one? Maybe it's the 7. So in this case it's the A. And it just adds a different feel to the song. However, it's harder to control the song when it's in something like that. I'm pumping out at this point I don't know if it's the melody or the bass. And I never really know until I'm halfway through the song. I just kind of write something and something comes out of it. Pumping out notes, just playing by ear. At this point I don't have a solid understanding of chord structure or like chord progressions. Like I know 1 to 4 to 6 to 1 is a chord progression, and I eventually look it up later when I'm doing the song, but at this point I am just throwing them in by ear. I do a just little melody on top. Oh yeah, I kept the sound audio in of it going like 2,000 speed because it reminded me of Galaga. So that's why that's in there. So at this point, I kind of like the little notes floating there. If you can get those right, oftentimes it makes the song feel more alive or less basic. Just throwing together notes at the moment. The chord structure. I usually base the chord structure like off of the notes. That always helped me come up with weirder chords, even though this song's chords are pretty basic. It still helps me get something out. I eventually want to learn how to do like 7ths and 9ths and make those sound good, but at this point, my knowledge is slim. This was the next day, so I do a little wave. So at this point it's a little harsh sounding, but I also really like how happy it sounds. Here's one of my, I like to add a reverse cymbal crash to lean into a drop, or whatever you would call it, when it gets more intense so that nobody's surprised by it. Now I decide that there needs to be a secondary melody or bass. I still have no idea. I have no plan whenever I'm doing these. Create a very happy thing of arpeggios there. I try to change it to a different instrument, and I end up frying my ears, and you can kind of see that based on my mouse flying around. So I turn that down. Changing the volume is really nice because you can kind of make these like arc things just by drawing them, but it's hard to fine tune and takes a lot of time, especially if you're trying to make something, say a realistic orchestral instrument. The volume can't be the same or else it will sound tinny and fake, but it can take a lot of time and effort just to round those out a bit more. Remove the arpeggio and add more of a call and response type of melody here, because that will always remain in someone's head longer. And one of the things I like in songs is catchiness. This song isn't very catchy because it's kind of just floats there. Here is a little funny moment where I was moving the drum track and I accidentally heard a different rhythm as I was moving it, and then I was like, oh, I gotta do more drum rhythms. Adds variety, makes it sound less computerized, even though drum rhythms are really hard, for me at least. Quite like the instrument that's playing the chords right now, although it is very harsh of an instrument and hard to make appealing. I believe I eventually drop it for these chords in favor of a electric piano. As I mentioned about the catchiness, it still sort of lacks its own identity for the chorus, or not the chorus, I guess the melody. Maybe it's the chorus. But it lacks, you know, a specific drive. It kind of is made of multiple melodies. And I believe that stays throughout the song, like I never really fixed that. So this one is definitely more like floaty. It's very chipper. added a piano melody to the verses, and right now I'm just straightening out the chord or the melodies and their voicings. I like to compare them with each other by putting them in the same thread and making sure that all of the gray blobs align, because if they don't, there is dissonance, and I only want that if it's intentional. I am adding a little bit of spice to the second time that the verse plays. And like I mentioned earlier, I change out those chords for electric piano. It kind of pops more. The chords are really important with a song like this where it doesn't have any direction. The chords will make sure that you know what's going on. And I had a fun little experience for this part where it needs to resolve from a dissonance. Since it's in Mixolydian, I couldn't use A sharp without betraying Mixolydian. So I found a workaround with, I believe, using D sharp, a chord, D sharp, F sharp, A. Here I found that there's a round that is possible in my song just by moving it a little bit. So the finale is a round just by poking it. So yes, thank you for everyone who decided to subscribe. And I know people will always say, like and subscribe, but in all honesty, it's super fun to see them show up on the little videos that I post. So I very much thank anyone who decided to. I plan to do another one of these at 100 subscribers, so I will see if that ever happens. But thank you very much in the meantime, and I will definitely be posting more videos as I write more songs. Thank you very much for watching.